Good afternoon, everybody, and a very warm welcome to this exclusive webinar on emerging trends in business and corporate laws, brought to you by IIM Calcutta and VCNow. We are delighted to have you join us for this insightful session, where we will explore the evolving landscape of business and corporate laws and their growing relevance in today's dynamic business environment. As businesses navigate complexities such as globalization, technological design, and regulatory challenges, understanding and adapting to emerging legal trends has become a critical capability. Today's discussion will provide you with valuable perspectives from our distinguished faculty from IIM Calcutta, Professor R. Rajesh Babu and Professor V.K. Unni. We hope that these inputs are going to help you stay ahead in this very, very transformative era. We are equally excited to introduce you to IIM Calcutta's 6-month online executive program in business and corporate laws. As organizations strive for growth, the knowledge of corporate and business laws has become indispensable in setting up a competitive edge in the market. The modern legal structure is intricate and multifaceted, leaving companies in need of professional legal minds to guide them through decision-making processes and ensure that their interests are safeguarded, their markets effectively shaped, and that they have the upper hand. EPBCL enables new age professionals to leverage law as a strategic tool. It provides unparalleled insight into how business and corporate laws work in practice and equip them with the knowledge required to create robust legal frameworks for each individual organization. Designed with working professionals in mind, this program equips the participants with an in-depth knowledge of corporate governance, compliance, legal security, and regulatory frameworks, thereby enabling them to thrive in leadership roles. Allow me to introduce to you our eminent speakers for today's webinar, Professor R. Rajesh Babu and Professor V.K. Unni. Dr. R. Rajesh Babu is a professor of public policy and management at the Indian Institute of Management, Calcutta, and he is also a member of the Board of Governors of IIM Calcutta. He has obtained his PhD in international law from Jawaharlal Nehru University, JNU, New Delhi. He possesses over 2 decades of academic and professional mettle, I would say. He has been a postdoctoral scholar in residence at the Graduate Institute of International and Development Studies, IHEID, Geneva, a fellow at the Center for Studies and Research at the Hague Academy of International Law, and visiting fellow at Hamburg University. He has served as a senior legal officer in the Asian African Legal Consultative Organization, AALCO, New Delhi, which is an intergovernmental organization, or IGO. He has also practiced law at the High Court and the subordinate courts as well, briefly. In addition to all of these, he is also a regular contributor to international journals, magazines, and books. I move on to our next eminent speaker. Let me introduce Professor V.K. Unni to all of you. Dr. V.K. Unni is a professor at IIM Calcutta, wherein he is a member of the academic repertoire at the Public Policy and Management Group. And he teaches both at the doctoral and postdoctoral levels. Professor V.K. Unni has done his PhD in law from the Nalsar University of Law, Hyderabad. He had also taught at Nalsar University courses on intellectual property law, as well as banking and finance law for many years. He was the first academician to receive the prestigious Thomas Edison Innovation Fellowship instituted by the Center for Protection of Intellectual Property at the George Mason University, Virginia, USA. He was also awarded the Max Planck India Fellowship for the term 2008 to 2011 by Max Planck Society, Germany. And he was the only awardee from the field of law. He has been a scholar in residence at the School of Law, University of California, Davis, USA, and he has been definitely a regular contributor to a lot of international journals, newspapers, magazines, and books, both in India and abroad. He is quite well known for his write-ups on various topics of interest at any point of time. We hope this session offers you enriching insights and inspires you to leverage legal acumen as a powerful tool for driving business success. Before I hand over the session to our eminent speakers for today, let me also give you the information that we will also be having a Q&A session at the end of the discourse by the professors. If you have any queries, please make a note of them. And during the course of the interactions with the professors, if you want to share some query at your end, you have to utilize the chat box, which is open to everybody. We will also be interacting with you individually at some point of time later on. You are encouraged to feel free to share your thoughts and questions during the Q&A session because we are here to share knowledge and learn and grow together. Thank you for joining us, and let us dive into an engaging and enlightening discussion. I hand over the forum to the professors. Thank you so much.
Unni, Professor.
Am I audible?
Yes, yes, loud and
yeah. Okay. Thank you, because many a times this problem also happens. So as Shreyashi has already given a very detailed introduction with respect to this program, I'm not going to say anything about the program immediately. Program and all we will talk about later. But you know, this particular area of law is a very serious business to be left alone to lawyers. All of us know that. And this particular kind of with the advent of liberalization, which happened about 30 years back, now we are actually reaching the final frontier where law is interacting with almost every aspects of business, be it at the board level, be it at one level below or multiple level below the board, be it at various kinds of decision-making process, be it engaging with various stakeholders, be it even dealing with non-traditional stakeholders, because I don't think 15 years back, anybody would have heard any kind of discussions at the board level about climate or climate change. Today, it's a very important part of the entire board discussions. So we are actually seeing a complete transformation of the way in which business and law has its meaningful interface. And lawyers also play their own very important role. That way, even people who are actually involved in the governance part also makes a very important contribution. And this kind of symbiotic relationship in a way gets, I would say, augmented with the right kind of knowledge from both the streams. So it's not just the law which plays the role here. It's also the kind of the knowledge about governance standards. It's about the way in which various kinds of stakeholders interact and interface and also try to accommodate each other's concerns. So all this we are actually trying to imbibe in a different way. So you would have heard about things getting, for example, on the labor law front, things getting really, I would say streamlined with different codes being drafted. On the data protection front, we know the law was passed last year. We are just waiting with bated breath for the new rules to be in place. On the digital front, I'm not talking about the data protection only. I'm talking about the entire Digital India Act getting notified, getting at least drafted and passed very soon. On the governance front, we are talking about, we are not just talking about the governance from a from something like a philanthropic angle. Now we are talking about various measuring tools. It could be the ESG tools involved. It could be the BRSR involved. So that is there. Then we talk about the importance of resolution of debts or restructuring, which is also being touted as one of the most successful legislations which India has ever witnessed in the past maybe 50, 60 years. I'm talking about the IBC and its various interfaces with multiple aspects of law. IBC's interface with competition. So it's a very interesting period which we are actually dealing with. And this kind of program, as I told you initially, I will not be saying anything about the program, but this is essentially the kind of learnings which we are trying to assimilate and try to make it more operational on ground. So you would have heard about the kind of governance risks which are involved. So this is something which we want to try to bounce it with all of you and try to see the kind of what I would say how we can actually fill up this gap here. So I would just leave the floor here and just give it to Professor Rajesh, and then later on, if anything is here, I'll come back.
All right, thanks, Unni. I believe I am audible. Thanks, Shreyashi, for the kind introduction. Right, just one clarification. I have moved away from. I'm completed my term as a board member, so I've taken over as another role as dean now. So just to kind of reflect on what Professor Unni has just started off. Also, I just happened to have our IIM Calcutta Foundation Day 2 days back, so 14th of November. And Mr. Ajay Chowdhury, I don't know whether some of you already know him, is a co-founder of HCL, right? So he had delivered our foundation lecture and the institute lecture. And one of the key things that he mentioned was that one of the biggest hindrance, right, that India faces or India Inc. faces is regulatory framework, right? And he was again talking about multiple committees within the government itself being established to kind of do what we now call it as ease of doing business, right? So if you look at the ease of doing business, the 10 parameters that are listed out, you will find that most of them have relationships, close relationship with regulatory framework directly or indirectly, right? For instance, so to say, enforcement of contract, right? Our ranking is somewhere between in 160s, right? So one of the lowest ranked countries. Of course, in the recent past, we have significantly improved our ranking. To what extent that is the ground reality is a different question altogether. But having said that, if you look at each of these parameters, you will find that India is lagging behind, and one of the possible reasons for lagging behind, or rather, India is unable to kind of push forward, is because of the regulatory framework that we have, right? And I just also want kind of interesting to mention, particularly from the business point of view, the election of Trump and the policy that may come in the context of China, and how India could possibly leverage, particularly looking at export-import kind of policies, right? Some of the regulatory policies that are governing these relationships, right? Yeah, and for him, we already missed the bus, because when many businesses were exiting China, we could have created a environment, of course, including in the regulatory environment, which has been conducive for us to kind of gain that competitive advantage. But unfortunately, somehow we didn't do that because of the way we have structured our law. We have been slow in moving forward. So that is point number one. Point number two, if you look at any business context, right? If you look at the big business, particularly, the Economic Times come up with a survey where it talks about the litigation cost, right? You look at any litigation cost of any company, right? It comes under the first 5 or 10 of their budget, the biggest expenses. And here I'm not even talking about the in-house litigative department, right? I'm talking about the externals that the expenses that a company go through simply because they have to litigate, the kind of compensation they have to pay, right? The delay and the value loss that happens because of the delay, etc. Right? So in that sense, also, proactive, trying to understand proactively the regulatory framework, preventing them from some of these pitfalls that you may possibly have, are some of the things that, not just as a lawyer, and here when we are discussing, particularly in this course, we are not only talking about the lawyers or the managers who wants to kind of know law, but rather we want people at both sides of the end trying to understand the close interaction between these two disciplines, or the practicality of these disciplines, so that there is an intelligent conversation around that, right? Finally, I'll close it by essentially saying that, uh, so always, and this is the first class when we were discussing in class, one of the first class I would ask generally, particularly non-lawyers, would be, how do you view law, right? Is it a restraint? It is something that gives provides a boundary, right? Say do's and don'ts, right? The black and whites, right? So is this something that you look at as a restraint, something that we complied with? Legal department as cost centers, right? Is it something that we should look at? Is it the way we should look at, right? So these are some of the issues that I start off with, right? And progressively, I've been teaching in this place for almost a few, or interacting with people who are not typically lawyers for the last 15 years, and that the conversation to a large extent has changed in the recent times, but they do understand now the clear implication of law in their decision making for their business, right? So point being that what I'm trying to pin on is that while we do have problems with regulatory framework in terms of the restraints that it imposes, right? Of course, big businesses possibly can advocate and change law itself, but we are not talking about big businesses, right? Who can change the policy, change the law itself. No, we are not talking about. We're talking about law as is, and how can we take advantage of those laws, right? So in that context, there is also a rethinking in terms of understanding the law as possibly a tool. I'm using the word tool because let me give you an analogy. So when ICT came into being, information technology, information and communication technology come into being, to what extent this technology could be leveraged by business to enhance their competitive advantage was one of the large amount of research has gone in. And one of the reasons why many of the companies restructure their business around this ICT, making their business more efficient. And of course, now we have the AI coming into play, right? So these are tools that allow you to kind of enhance your competitive advantage in a marketplace where anything, even the smallest of bit, would give you advantage. The question that we are also trying to address is that, can law or understanding law also gives you certain leverage, certain advantage in the marketplace, in decision making, in strategizing, in planning, right? Unni talked about the law being discussed in the boardroom itself as part of the strategy, right? So rather than, if you look at many of the companies, right, it's very very easy, or of course, given that we look at law as a cost center, something that if possible can be avoided, circumvented, right? Is a philosophy many firms even today practice, because by hook or crook do that. But that is a philosophy which had ended up, Paytm or many other Satyam, etc., in a big trouble, right? That is the starting stage. But then there is also compliance stage. There is also prevention stage, advantage stage, etc., where companies also look at legal instruments, particularly, again, as I mentioned about the conversation between the lawyers and the business. The way I look at, for example, contract, I don't know how many lawyers are there here. We always, I mean, I myself, I'm a lawyer. I talk about contracts, right? But then from a business perspective, or a business point of view, right? For them, it doesn't make sense to have something called contract. It's a deal. It's a business deal. The contract is just a reflection of that deal, right? To bring in certainty to that deal, right? So a businessman understand a deal, a business deal, a business proposition, whereas the language of lawyers is strictly bound by the rules of contract and the related framework. Somewhere that convergence should happen, right? And that convergence can happen when there is a conversation that happening. And fortunately, in this program, we have been we had the privilege of having cohort of about 60 or odd people who are from both the spectrum, right? From the business side of it and also lawyers, in-company lawyers, practicing lawyers, CA. Of course, they are not lawyers, but have some understanding of legal framework. At the same time, there are people who genuinely are looking at leadership positions moving forward, who wants to understand the nuances of the law on the other side of the spectrum, right? And in that sense, we had a very, very interesting group of people leading to interesting group of discussions, right? So, so the broader idea, as Professor Unni and the introduction to the program was mentioned, is essentially to leverage what probably many would not see as an advantage, unseen, and trying to understand and use that, apply that in your professional and personal life. So that is the kind of thing that we generally discuss. More than looking at sections or provisions, we look at concepts and principles and approaches. Uh, so so that is essentially what I would want to kind of briefly intervene. Of course, uh, questions are most welcome. Unni, you want to add anything more to?
No. Professor Rajesh has covered literally everything, and also the symbiotic relationship between law, business, and the way in which all these can be used as very effective tools to improve governance. So you have covered literally everything. And just one thing I would like to add here is the kind of programs which we have done, which earlier we thought would be only law. For example, we have done, I can't even reflect, even remember how many batches we have done. For example, for ONGC, Coal India and all, we have done most of these for these PSUs, lots of programs on contract management. Initially, we were thinking it would be just the law. Then we realized almost 90% of the participants are not from a legal background, where for them, this is a very important instrument to ensure that out of the 100 contracts or 10,000 contracts which they sign, if one actually goes wrong, there should be a remedy. So there we realized that it's not just section numbers which matter. It's not just some Supreme Court cases. Of course, they are also very important, but it's also how to connect, how to make sure that the law and the regulatory framework is used as a very effective strategy to avoid business disputes. So this is something which we learned only while we work with these companies. And these are, these are extremely, India's, I would say the Maharatnas of India who actually handle, because we were talking to most of these people who are actually signing worth contracts in a year worth about 25,000 crores, 30,000 crores and all. Some of them at the ED level, many of them later on became the executive directors and all. So this was a very, very, very enriching or enlightening experience for both of us. From just thinking law is everything there, we also realized that it's a very important part, but it's also part of the entire holistic picture of the deal. And as also Professor Rajesh was telling about this AI, AI is going to, actually nobody knows how this is going to really play out. It can affect multiple sectors. It can AI tomorrow come and sit in the boardroom? Because I was just having a session with some other program. So there I always used to start by saying board consists only of human beings. But who knows, maybe 5 years down the line, there may be a situation where a machine with a particular kind of like that power or whatever kind of intelligence can also sit in the, because already happening in Hong Kong. AI is actually being used as some kind of advisory position. So the concept that we only consider natural persons as directors, maybe in the next 10 years may undergo a sea change. So what I'm saying is multiple kinds of technological developments are constantly challenging the legal premises. AI is one. entire broader concept of governance is another one. Climate change is another. So these are all interesting and exciting areas where I'm sure learning with all of you would also be a great, great step to move forward. So that's all from me, but we'll be very happy to take any questions from you. Till this now, we haven't mentioned anything about the program except some very basic references, but anything specific on that also we'd be happy to answer.
I think, with the due permission of both professors, I would request Shreyashi to take them through the snapshot of the program so that, in the meantime, you can consolidate your queries and we can come back to the Q&A. That would be fine. Yeah.
I hope my screen is visible to everybody.
Yes. Yes, yes.
Yes, thank you. So I will just give me a moment. Yeah. Yes, so I will take you through some salient features of the program that we are discussing here today, which is the Executive Program in Business and Corporate Laws, offered by IIM Calcutta in association with VCNow. This is the sixth cohort of the program, as already mentioned on screen, and the program is for a period of 9 months. The period of 9 months also includes 2 campus visits to the IIM Calcutta campus, which is broken up into 3 days and 4 days, respectively. 4 days at the beginning and 3 days at the end of the program, which will also consist of probably your certain live sessions or the certification might also happen during that same period of time at the end of the program. And apart from this, your classes are accessible from the comfort of your home or your office. You can access your classes live online from your laptop or your desktop, which is the direct to desktop mode. And to be eligible for the program, you will have to have minimum 2 years of work experience. And educationally, you must be a graduate or a postgraduate with a minimum 50% aggregate marks. Right? The classes are very conveniently scheduled over the weekend on Sundays, 10:30 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. and on very select Saturdays, 12 noon to 3 p.m., which makes it very useful for, very, I would say, convenient for working professionals such as you. Upon completion of the program, successfully completing the program, you shall receive a certificate of completion offered by IIM Calcutta. I will shortly be sharing in the next slide a visual representation of what the certification might look like. The program fee for the EPBCL program is 2,75,000 plus GST, payable in 3 easy installments. In case if anyone requires some financial assistance, that is also available. Apart from the certification, on completion, you will also be receiving an alumni status from IIM Calcutta's Executive Education Department. I move on to show you the visual representation of the certification. This is what the certification might look like. Right, moving on, I shall introduce you to what the program modules will consist of. So we have Advanced Corporate Laws 1 and 2. They consist of regulatory framework of corporate governance, evolving ESG considerations, role of SEBI, and various SEBI committees on corporate governance. Dispute resolution, national and international, will consist of the legal framework for national and international dispute resolution, as the name suggests. The nitty-gritties of which definitely would be shared with you during the course of the program. We have detailed program, I would say, program information also available on this. We will also be connecting with you on a one-to-one basis post today's webinar, wherein we will be able to address your queries on these aspects or on any other aspect with regards to the program too. The third module would be the legal framework for competition and consumer protection, wherein, as the name suggests, we would be discussing details with relation to these aspects of business and corporate laws. Then we have international trade and investment law, wherein the focus would be on the regulatory framework for international trade for goods and services and investment. The legal framework provided under the WTO rules governing all business activities in goods and services. Last but not the least, we will have the protection of intellectual property rights, IPR, which is a cause of great concern in today's times. We will be speaking about the TRIPS agreement, the patent law, patent infringement, trademark law and eligibility for trademark registration, trademark infringement, assignment and licensing of trademarks, copyright, wherein we will be speaking about the economic and moral rights, infringement of copyright, fair dealing defenses, and trade secret protection. As I mentioned some time back, we will be willing to address all of these concerns or these areas of the program modules in detail on a one-to-one basis as well. We will be sharing some details with you post today's webinar too. All right, so the next cohort, the sixth cohort of the EPBCL program is expected to commence in the month of December 2024, which is next month. We have very few seats available. The last date to apply for those seats would be 25th of November. We will be sharing the application procedure and other details of the program shortly, wherein our team will be in touch with you. If you have any queries with regards to the program or how it might help you or anything else whatsoever, you are free to address them during today's Q&A session. 1 second, sorry, I think I pressed the wrong button here. Yeah, sorry about that. Moving on, some visual representation of the certification ceremony at IIM Calcutta. This is from the previous batch. You can see our esteemed professors who are available with us today addressing the webinar on screen too. I would request you to also note down these numbers and this email ID as well, in case if you have some specific query wherein you would want to speak on a one-on-one basis with us and our team, you can please get in touch with us on these numbers. These numbers will also be shared with you on the chat box. I will stop the screen share now and hand over the forum, and we would want to address some of the queries that have arrived in the chat box. Yes, so I'm just, if any of you wants to come up with any queries when you want to speak up, you will be able to unmute yourself. So please raise your hand so that we can see who you are. You can speak and address your queries during the session itself with the professors. All right,
Maybe
so
I
I
can
have, yeah,
I can answer a couple of the questions that has been raised.
yes, I was about to.
Yeah. So doesn't contain privacy law. Again, as I said, the list which has been shown is an indicative list, right? So as part of the module, we generally cover one lecture on privacy law, one 3-hour session on privacy law. Okay. Attendance is decided by the institute, and usually the first campus is scheduled somewhere from the 1 month, around 1 month after starting of the program, and the second would be somewhere at the end of the program. Okay. Fee is very high. I cannot I cannot comment on that, right? Are we going to touch upon contract management? Yes, it depends on, this is something that is a variable. Contract management is something that, as Professor Unni was saying, we have done trained on contract management and arbitration, hundreds of programs. Okay.
And also I would add to what Professor Rajesh is saying, we may be the only institute who has actually trained the defense officers, Ministry of Defense, on high value contract procurements. I don't think anybody would have done that, because we have actually trained them, the Ministry of Defense, on contract management. So
yeah.
that,
so, but
I think
purposefully it was there in the initial modules, then we had taken that out. But having said that, depending on the requirement from the request from our participants, we had added 1 or 2 sessions, but that is based on, I mean, we modified because there are some level of flexibility. We also bring in experts also, some, even though we are the only 2 program directors who are the lawyers, in IIM Calcutta, but we also bring in industry, uh, people who are practicing, also other faculty members from other institutions, etc. Okay. So yeah, contract management, if there is a need for, yes, there is a possibility. Study materials, obviously books will be provided for you, right? So there are 3 or 4 books, and of course, the rest of the things would be soft copies, online materials. Okay. Kiran, go
So we
ahead.
have a hand raised. Yes, we have a hand raised by Karan M.
This program, it depends on what you want. You have the course curriculum with you, right? Does it fit within the work that you are currently doing, or possibly be doing in the near future when you grow up in the corporate ladder? This is a question that you have to address, right? So if you believe that this is, of course, one of the things that I would kind of advise you not to do is that, say, I want arbitration, but I don't want company law. I like this, I don't like that. That does not work, right? We don't know when and what law, which law will apply, or would be coming into play when you are in a particular job, right? So come with an open mind in terms of take as much as possible from the program. Kiran, go ahead, please.
Karan, you can unmute and speak. Karan?
I think Karan had begun to speak on the query that he had, but then again he got muted. Karan, you can try and unmute yourself and come up with the query that you had, please.
Yeah. Study materials will be sent by the institute, of course. It may be beneficial to senior citizens. Again, a call that you have to make.
I have a question, Professor.
Yeah.
Shared by Niyati. Niyati Rabal. She writes, is this for in-house counsels as well, or legal managers in companies?
Absolutely.
So this is, if you look at the cohort, as I already kind of mentioned, if you look at the cohort, you have, I'm saying law graduates. I'm saying only law graduates, right? Not practitioners. Law graduates is around half of the cohort. But law graduate would include people who are practicing, in-house lawyers, etc., etc. All kind of
Lots of in-house lawyers.
or people who are also doing other things which with a law degree. On the other hand, the other would be business managers dealing with, of course, regulatory issue, but does not have a law background.
No. I will just add to what Professor Rajesh is saying. Of course, legal counsels. I can name the companies also. HCL Technologies. We have people. We have people from what is the other one? Blackstone. We have people partner of Sirla Merchant Mangaldas. All these people were there in our program.
Yeah.
Immediate last program. Partner of Amarchand Mangaldas. I'm not just joking. It's there. So we have the cohort that way is very diverse, but about 50%, 50 to 55% would be lawyers. Remaining 45 would be non-lawyers.
Only you should not use the word lawyers. It should be law graduates.
Law graduates. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So how
No,
and
but
when
Rajesh, we had
final
lawyers
schedule?
also, right? We also had practicing lawyers.
Yeah, practicing lawyers. But
That's what I'm saying. So
So,
they are also there. Yeah, that
how
I
and
don't think
when
we
will
can
you
explain,
get the
Avinash.
final schedule?
Avinash,
So
this
that
I can't
again,
answer this.
no, schedule, we have a fixed time. I think Pulak might have already kind of informed, or the brochure already has a timing. So just leave out the national holidays, you get the schedule.
10:30
Right?
to
Generally,
1:30.
10:30, 1:30.
Sundays.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I'm sorry, I think I didn't realize I was Karan on the screen, but this is Shachika here. My camera is currently off as I'm traveling.
Yeah.
I have a few questions. Now, I do understand Rajesh sir and Unni sir both have already clarified as to how the program caters to the need of not just law graduates, but also in-house counsels. Myself being an in-house counsel, what I really wanted to understand was because on a day-to-day basis, it's a very fast-paced job where I am jumping from contracts to consumer to competition to import-export disputes within a day by by addressing all the queries from stakeholders. And if I do join the program, the entire idea is to A, absorb the knowledge, and B, try and understand how I can
Oh.
execute it in my job. That's so the reason I'm asking this. If Rajesh sir could elaborate more, because he said something very specific that it's not just about the sections, but it's also about the concepts.
Mhm. Right. You want me to answer, Kiran? Okay.
Please. Okay.
Right. Yeah. Okay. See, first of all, how do I put it? Of course, everybody is busy on their own job. So in that sense, when you join for a program, if you want to take the maximum value, of course, you are investing in this program, right? You are
Right.
paying, right? So obviously, you want the best out of that program, right? So
Right.
for that, ideally, of course, other than the 3 hours that you dedicate for that in a week, you may have to at least spend some time, allocate certain time for reading
Right.
readings for the program, right? So at least I would say, maybe again, this is not a thumb rule or anything like that. Maybe 6 hours or so. Other than the
Right.
3 hours, you may have to kind of uh, 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 go through what has been discussed, etc. Right? Of
Right.
course, it's an evaluation also. Remember this, every module do have an evaluation also, because this is a certification of successful completion, right? So there is an
Right.
evaluation component also, right? Now, of course, there are limitation in the classroom as to
Mm-hmm.
how much you can ask questions, clarify, etc. Because there are
Right.
cohort of 60 people, very difficult to kind of, communicate everything or ask everything, then you are monopolizing, right? So
Right.
that may not be possible. But if there are, and many a times take all the 60 or 70 people together, the level of discussion would be slightly broader sense. But you want to
Right.
be more specific answer, specific questions, etc. You can address
Right.
that in the classroom also. But even beyond the classroom, I and Unni obviously do engage with students if they have specific queries or questions, etc. Right? So that is
Okay.
how we kind of do that. Having said that, remember, of course, you are busy, but you have to find some time for this program. And it's not
Right.
just about value add, about in terms of the academics that I am talking about, the
Right.
cohort that you are going to come with, that 60 people, they are coming from a very diverse background, right?
Right.
They are the I don't know whether you have heard of the network theory, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
so, so one of the speciality of being in a business school, etc., is the kind of network that you make, all diverse group of people from diverse background, both
Right.
educational and otherwise, professionally, right? So it's not just about us saying something. In the last five batches that we have done, I can very well say that I have, in the end of the program, gained as much as probably a student who would have
Right.
joined the program, right? So in that sense, there is a peer learning that also happens, right?
Mm-hmm.
So your contribution is very, very critical. Unless you prepare for that, you may not be able to contribute. You will be just sitting on your computer doing multitasking, right?
Right.
And possibly you may clear your exams and get a certificate. But that is not, I would advise you, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for answering that. Because what I also wanted to understand was, now there are law graduates. Now this program is designed for law graduates. Plus also there
No,
are
no, it is
people
not
from
designed for law graduates.
no.
Remember this.
So just allow me
Yeah, yeah,
one
yeah.
minute.
Please go ahead. Please go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. So what I really wanted to ask was, how do you both address the bridge that may sometimes come up from, dealing with people who have 10 years of experience as a lawyer, or 5 years of experience as a lawyer, or even law graduates? Because what happens is, as someone who has been practicing for over a decade,
Yeah.
you already know the nitty-gritties, and you want something more advanced, like something that adds to my knowledge, as I mentioned before. So I just wanted to understand, how do you both bridge that gap?
Well, I don't know, Unni can come in here, but last 5 batches we have gone through this, and the cohort has been largely the same, with even people who have having 20, 30 years of experience, both in terms of industry experience, as well as some of them who have been practicing as well.
And
Right?
people at one
Ah.
level just below the boat in a very
Right.
large listed IT company. I won't name the company, is based in Bangalore.
Right.
Senior VP, one level below the board. He reports directly to the board. If they are saying he learned a lot, I think we would have done some good job. That's the only thing I can say. But
No, no,
anyway,
Again, as I
that's not the idea.
And
Please
again,
let me
again, as
clarify.
I was, Kiran, I was trying to say, it's not just about us spoon feeding anything, right? It's about the cohort matters a
Right.
lot. And that cohort also is something that brings with the program. Of course, we were the one who is going to lead that discussion, right? Right.
Right.
So there is a give and take, there is a peer learning. All these are factors that comes into play. It's not just us, right? That works
Right.
for the program. The last 5 batches, it has worked. At least I don't know about the future batches, but yeah.
I
Great.
think, I think,
Thank you.
just to complement what Professor Rajesh said, it's really, from the practical point of view, we have seen in the past that there always have been a mix of audience, in terms of few people already from legal background and many of them from the corporate world. And I think this diversity has also helped us in terms of, as Professor Rajesh said, peer learning. Because the more diverse a batch is, and from more diversified field people are, and from various designations, various industries, it only helps in a collaborative atmosphere to learn further beyond what the faculty teaches.
Right.
And I think
Right.
that is the key takeaway from the program, right? So that should be taken as an advantage, I'm sure.
I'm sure. Thank you, Rajesh sir. Thank you, Unni sir, for clarifying and being so patient with my queries.
Thank you for your
thank you.
question as well.
Thank you so much.
I'm sure, I think a lot of the participants also came to know about a lot of different details about the program, about your question, right? And I would really encourage the other participants to also come up with their queries.
I
If you
think
have any
we
queries,
already have a few queries on the chat box.
Why
So
again, Avinash Bahu has a question. Why to choose is not something for me to decide, right? It's absolutely up to you to kind of decide whether this kind of list of things that has been listed as the modules will be helpful personally, professionally, when you are growing up in your job. Would you even think that, I don't know whether what your background is, think that law itself has any factor to play in your professional responsibility, right? So that is a question that you usually should reflect on to decide whether you want to engage with and spend so much of time and money for this program, right? I'm not going to sell this program. Okay. If you decide that this is something that would value add for your profession, then that would answer your question.
on that note, Professor, I have another query in the chat box. So the question goes like this: I'm a food technologist and regulatory affairs manager in the food industry. Would you advise me to join this course?
Come again?
So the question is, I'm a food technologist and regulatory affairs manager in the food industry. Would you advise me to join this course? That is the question.
This is kind of a personalized, whether to join or not, and the burden is on me if you join and your expectation is not fulfilled. That doesn't happen like that. Okay. Are you planning to be in the food and tech industry? Does that have relevance to what are the topics that has been covered? Largely does trade and commerce comes into play? Does consumer protection comes into play? Does competition comes into play? So these are questions that you yourself address, right? And there are, again, people come and join these kind of courses for different reasons. For some, it is purely academic reason. For some, it is networking. For some, it is certification. For some, it is career, whatever they are doing, right? So for an individual, It can be multitude of these reasons, combination of these reasons. It can be an individual reason.
Yeah, I think there is some issue. I will just add on to what Professor Rajesh is saying. See, Rika, this is what you are asking is a very specific question. I think Rajesh is audible now. It's not audible, right?
No, I think not yet. Not
Okay,
yet.
so I will just add on to what sir was saying. See, this what you is a specific question. For example, you are asking about regulatory affairs in the food industry. Let us take the example of maybe Haldiram's. Okay, so there would be various kinds of challenges. Let's say regulator, it would be very sector specific. We won't be able to get into all those things. We can only but there would be still some general topics. For example, something like intellectual property rights, something like the competition law part. Those and all would be relevant to your industry also. But if you are only talking about regulatory affairs covering food or snacks and all, then I don't think this would be, we won't be getting into that micro details. So I think, does that answer your question?
Yeah. Sorry,
Yeah. No,
internet is weak.
I added certain things. So what you said, I
My
just added.
internet is kind of weak, so yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So on a similar note, Niyati has another question. Is there any learning from the oil and energy sector?
Where is that question? I couldn't see that.
What is the question? Oil and gas sector.
Teaching from oil and energy sector. That is the
Oil
question.
and energy, I don't think we are covering, right, Unni?
No.
We are not covering. We are not covering.
Only thing which we are covering in from oil and energy is the merger between Reliance Petroleum and Reliance Industries. But
Yeah.
that is not something from the only thing is that merger happens to be from the oil industry, but that's all. But otherwise, there is nothing which, because this is a general course that way. We can't get into sector specific details, right?
Yeah.
Just one more question that one more question that is there in the chat box. Will the legal nuances of investments be covered with case studies? Asked by Ajay Singh.
Yes. International investment arbitration, these are things which would get covered.
Yeah.
Yes. So somebody just has written Shagun, right? Banking sector. I guess she's referring to the fact that, like, is already learning from the banking sector. I am assuming that is what she means by that. That is another question.
For banking sector, one very important law is Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code. That is covered in great detail. So we always bring some experts for that. Then the other thing would be general corporate for banking. So that's as part of the mergers, and those bank mergers primarily are under RBI, but we cover that. But the most important thing from go ahead.
No, I was just saying that the brochure contains almost not full detail, but largely what has been covered. Right. So I would advise that you have a look at that, because there is a subheading. There are 6 modules. There is a subheading. Of course, there is an opportunity for what we call it as capstone project, which means that if a group of people, 4 or 5, want to take up a subject which otherwise is not covered, right, and go in depth into that. It's a group exercise, capstone project, which is part of the program itself. You will make a presentation on that. That is an option that is always available to you. Okay, even if that is something that is not covered in the main modules.
Yes, and I have a couple of queries that have come up. Yes, with regards to placement support. So we will take it up separately with you. And let me also, okay. Okay, so Mannat, right? Mannat, you have placed a query directly, which says how much interaction do the participants have amongst each other during the program? So if I may answer this, I mean, that depends on you, because there would be 7 days of campus immersion at the campus, definitely, where you will be meeting your cohort members in person. And during the course of the program, you will be also connected to them throughout WhatsApp interaction, a WhatsApp group. There would be a lot of peer learning that would also be happening. So a lot of that depends on how you want to network with your peer, peer learners in the group itself. Yes. And with regards to the placement support, you have raised a query on that. So since this is a program which is an executive upskilling program, executive education program, I am sure you also would be coming up with your own set of work experience and your own set of skills, which you are looking to enhance with this program. I would say our aim here would be to make you a sharper professional so that wherever you place yourself, you want to have an interaction with somebody, then you know exactly what to say and how to say it and how to present yourself and your set of skills that is available with you. I hope that answers your query. Partho has a question. If someone misses out on one particular class, how will he get the details?
Yeah, there
Right.
is an attendance group. Yeah.
Yes, there is a question. Any attendance rule? Yes. So in
Yeah,
case,
it's
yes,
75%.
yes, you will have to attend 75% of the online sessions, and both the campus immersions, you will have to be present at them. That's a part of your overall attendance as well, right? And
But
with regards to this classes, Professor,
but
over to you.
even before you join or starting the class, you are talking about missing the class, right?
Yes.
No, sir, it's not that.
No, I'm just
Let me
joking.
clarify.
Okay.
Arey yaar,
Let me clarify
just
also.
joking. Just
Hi,
joking
Mr.
only.
Rajesh. This is Rosie. I had a
See,
question.
actually,
Given the modes that you have selected and you are delivering these lectures, wanted to understand that
We have lost your voice, Rosie. I mean, I'm sorry, but
yeah, what actually I want to mean is this. Sometimes, we are the in-house counsels. A lot of time it happens when there are arbitrations are scheduled on Saturday and Sundays. Mostly, the retired judges, they are giving slot in Saturday or Sundays, right? So obviously, I will give the priority to my courts, but it may happen on a particular Sunday, there could be a very final argument is fixed or something like that, where my presence from my company side is absolutely material and I cannot avoid. So in such scenario, how
Partho,
can I do?
I assumed you are a lawyer,
Yeah,
right? So you also know concept of exigency, right?
yes,
Justifiable, reasonable grounds, right? So that is
yeah.
always there, right?
No, my question is not that, sir. I'm
Yeah.
asking, can I get that video recording or something like that?
Yeah, of
That's
course.
my question. How I
Yes,
will update myself? That's the
yes.
main
Absolutely,
thing.
absolutely, you will get it.
So
Yeah, that's my
the
question.
rule is that after the class is over, if there is a justifiable reason, right, you will have, of course, even without the reason, you will have access to that video for a 1 week, right, post that, and 1 week before the exam.
Okay, great.
Okay.
That's fine.
And I think just to add, I think you already have a leeway of 25%, which you should not misuse. But even if there is an acute contingency, even if you miss one class and you avail a recording, that should not be a major problem as such. 75% is still a kind of a big room for you to,
No,
because
I'm not, sir. I'm not thinking about to avail only 75%. Because when
yeah, of course you need, I mean,
I'm
if you're
attending
interested,
this
you should
particular
attend
course,
100%.
obviously I will try to attend 100%.
Yes,
That's the
that
objective.
should be the spirit. Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. So that's taken care of. No problem.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Any other question? I mean, if any one of you have any query, you can unmute and speak.
and also, I would just like to take a moment to announce that
Yeah.
post today's webinar, you will be receiving the program brochure in your inboxes. And let me also introduce you to Shivani Sharma, who is going to be your point of contact. I have shared a number in the chat box as well. She and her team would be in touch with you and whatever queries you may have on the program, keeping in consideration the fact that the last date of application for this cohort is the 25th of November. Please reach out to her. You can also reach out to her and ask your questions with regards to the program or with regards to the program commencement or the program module related details. She will be the person to help you out with.
Thank you,
think-
Shreyashi.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. We will reach out to each one of you individually. And just because of paucity of time, if we couldn't take up any questions, we will definitely help
We
you
have
in
a
getting an
query
answer
from
to this.
someone regarding the exam, so I think we can take up that question. Professor's assessments, actually, they wanted to know. Yeah, you muted, Professor Rajesh. You're muted.
What were the question? What was the question?
Yeah, I mean, what is the form of exams and assessments?
So generally, again, it's a closed book exam that we do, right? But it depends on faculty. Some of them do give some assessment in the classroom itself, which as part of the assessment process. But generally, what I have seen is that it would be a closed book, and mostly it would be MCQ problem-based kind of questions. Okay. Campus schedule, we yet to be kind of, I don't know whether it is already been communicated to Pulak, any.
No, I think the campus, once we
Yeah.
start the, batch, it will be, just before the commencement of the batch, we will confirm them.
Yeah.
You will get some time for booking and all. So
Yeah,
that,
at least a month's time you'll be there to kind of for the first campus. Okay.
Yes.
How do we know who is looking at an independent director? Okay. So there is two modules on corporate law. Unni, you want to come in?
Yeah. See, we have two modules on corporate law, but there we actually try to discuss the company law aspects of joint venture, the contractual. For example, there you are asking what all things should be there. There, on the joint venture perspective, we cover things on the contractual structures of JVs, share purchase agreements, share subscription agreements, shareholders agreements, and all. That is covered. Then we also have a module on M&A, mergers, and also the takeover code. So these are the things which actually a director should know. For example, an independent director is a very important, plays a very important role when a takeover happens, because there are specific meetings which the independent directors should hold amongst themselves when they take over to decide about the price and all. So even though we are not directly focusing only on independent directors, these topics should definitely help somebody who is preparing for no any exam dealing with independent directors. But this is not directly covering independent directors. Definitely these are all any knowledge of company law, because you are going to be independent director in a company. So once you know how some of these advanced transactions and how the regulatory environment really plays out, that should definitely help. That's the only thing I can tell you. Right.
Right. If I think we have already overshot the webinar timelines, which was till 5 o'clock. And if there is any quick question, we might take just one more question, because we have to be mindful of the time frame as well. Mr. Partho, do you have another query that you would want to address? I just saw that your video got turned on.
No, it's fine. It's fine. Thank you so much for the clarification. I hope we will get the details from Miss Sivani regarding the schedule and all.
Definitely, you will get the
So,
details.
any tentative date, ma'am?
For the dates, we will be in touch with you. We will definitely give you a call right after the webinar. We will share the information with you, whatever is available with us at this point in time.
Fine. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Yes.
All the
I
best.
am.
Okay.
Bye. All the best.
and thank
Yes,
you, professors, for attending the session today.
Thank you.
and
Thank you so much.
Rendering your valuable time today. And thank you, participants, for attending. Yeah, Shreyashi,
Bye.
Yes,
Bye.
yes. Yes,
So
thank you.
so we are logging out. I am logging out.
Yes.
Thank you so much,
Right.
Professor.
Thank
Have a
Thank
you.
you.
great day.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Professor Rajesh.
Thanks all participants for joining today.
Yes, indeed. Thank you, everyone. And just a quick reminder, the last day to apply is the 25th of November, which is a few days away. So we would be there to help you out with the process. Whatever queries you may have, we will be in touch with you.
And I think just to add to Shreyashi, that we already have, quite a handful of people who have already applied for the batch. We just have a few seats which are left, actually, so we soon will be covering the entire batch size that we intend to do. So the earlier you register is better, although the last date is 25th, right? So you need to quickly reach out to Shivani and team, and she will guide you into the entire process, right? Okay, I think we can log off right now.
Thank you so much, everyone, for joining in, and have a great weekend ahead. Thank you.